Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. I'm Jennifer Richardson with the details. Leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, is not surprised that this country is losing a number of trained persons in the public sector to other countries, including those trained with the SVG Coast Guard. The situation with the Coast Guard was highlighted on radio last week by Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves, who said it was flagged in a report to him from the commander of the Coast Guard, as he noted that the officers are leaving to join other countries' armed forces and to work on oil rigs. On radio on Monday, Dr. Friday said the issue is one which they have been campaigning on for years, for something to be done to keep the young people here, particularly those who want to build a life in the country.
They don't feel that they have a place in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that is why we made it a cardinal point in our election campaign last into 2020. That is not just a matter of saying, well, listen, you had the education revolution, so-called. That's what they call it. And then now it's up to you. And then the people can't find work, or when they are working, they don't get promoted because people are being promoted, especially in the police service, based on partisanship, on the party card, rather than on competence. And then you have people, I met a woman, an officer the other day who said that, she'd been in the service for many years and still as a constable. Yeah, and she's not the only one. There are many others who have told me this. Here you are as a constable after serving over a decade, and there's no prospect of promotion. How does that inspire anybody? And so then the pay is poor, so that if you're at the bottom of the rung in terms of your seniority or your position within the service, whether it's a public service in general, police service or teaching service, the lower down, of course, the less you get paid. And we in this country are the lowest paid in the region. So when other people look around and they say, well, boy, I could get a job in BVI, or I could go up to St. Kitts in Antigua. You know how many Vincentians up in Antigua in the police service? They feel that they have better opportunities there. And if you're not getting promoted, at least you're getting paid better than they are here. And they could make a life for themselves and send back money here to build a house, finish the home, and educate the children. That is the reality in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And for the Prime Minister to acknowledge it in his comments is that, that's late in the game, before they try to hide it and shush it up, that no, everything is hunky-dory. Did you hear any acknowledgement of this during the budget address, that this is something that needs to be dealt with, that we need to be able to keep our brightest and best in our public service? And it's not just the police service, and it's not the Coast Guard only. The nurses we're losing in droves.
Yes, true.
They're going elsewhere. They're moving out and they're going to finding opportunity elsewhere.
Dr. Friday said every Vincentian has a role to play in the building of SVG and must be equally and fairly treated despite their political affiliation.
And then they are in the service there, and they're not valued. They're just being treated as though they'll be grateful that you get a job. Go do your work and shut up. And this, well, all right, I'm a free person. You might have forced some of us to take the vaccine, or you have fired some people who didn't. But we can also take ourselves elsewhere and find more lucrative employment, more meaningful careers. Yeah. Now that makes us all in this country less off, because we lose talented and skilled people. And that is one of the things that we have to do. If St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I started out saying that we have to all believe in this project, which is St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to build a viable country that is better than it is now. And to do that, all of us have to be playing a part. All of us have to be appreciated. We can't just treat some because they say, oh, you're in the opposition, or you support the opposition, and so therefore you have no place in this present St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You can't make decisions. You don't have to be consulted because you're there on the other side. Well, we are part of this country and we love it just as much as anybody else. We work hard to build our communities, and I'll talk a little bit about that just now. And so we have to, at some particular time, remind ourselves of that.
The opposition leader said it is important that as a people we come together recognizing our challenges and confront them together in the spirit of Paramount Chief Joseph Chatier.
Yeah, Chatier, he sacrificed himself for the dignity and sovereignty of our people. Will not relinquish the right to say, well, listen, this is our territory and we will govern it as we choose. And that is something that we all aspire to and we must aim towards. We know the difficulties. As I said in my address up at the obelisk, the difficulties or the challenges may appear different now, but the struggle is the same. It is one for human dignity, it's for sovereignty. And we have to recognize what the challenges are, know what our strengths and weaknesses are, and come together and confront them. And don't let divisions keep us apart. And this is what the moment inspires us to do. And we know that in governing the country, you cannot do it on half of the people. Everybody must come together to get the job done. That is of developing St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And all of those people who want to support the change, and I know there's a vast majority of people in the country, let's do it. Let's get it done. Give us a chance to govern this country. We can do better than we are doing now.
The Inland Revenue Department is expected to implement more stringent measures to get delinquent property taxpayers to pay up with an estimated 40 million EC dollars in outstanding property taxes in the country. This was reported by the Agency for Public Information, API, which quoted the Comptroller of the Inland Revenue Department, Kelvin Pompey, as saying that as a consequence of years of what can be considered deliberate avoidance of the statutory requirement for the payment of annual property taxes by both residential and business clients, the country has been put in a precarious position, and outstanding payment of taxes only exacerbates the economic conditions and inhibits potential development opportunities. In the interview with the API, Pompey was further quoted as saying, April 1st, 2024, they now will be targeting persons with specifications for employees who have properties owing, and once they have been contacted and informed, and if we do not see the level of compliance we require, we would be garnishing salaries to recover the outstanding property tax. In addition to these measures for business property owners receiving rent, the Comptroller said rents will be garnished until outstanding property taxes are recovered, and that directors and principal officers will be held responsible for outstanding arrears, and ultimately there will be a move towards seizing assets to recover outstanding amounts. According to the API, Pompey opined that the measures are necessary to demonstrate that there are consequences for non-compliance for property taxes, as he advised Vincentians with outstanding property taxes to contact the Inland Revenue Department to discuss how they may bring their accounts up to date, as well as how they may benefit from a possible interest waiver arrangement or a flexible payment option, all with the aim of ensuring compliance. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is said to be making progress with its efforts under the Digital Transformation Project to establish an electronic single window for trade facilitation, eSwift, now being branded vSwift or Vinci Single Window for Trade Facilitation. On November 17, 2023, the government signed a contract with the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, to implement the vSwift. Currently, UNCTAD's lead advisor on vSwift is on the ground engaging the border regulatory agencies as they push to complete the legislative framework review. This engagement also includes the Technical Working Group on Legislation, TWGL, as well as the Project Implementation Team. A news release said the enabling legislative framework will empower the vSwift operator and participating border agencies to facilitate seamless trade transactions and grant validity to the transactions and interactions among parties. It noted that the proposed legislation and related documentation will lay a strong foundation for setting up the single window facility and paperless processing environment, allowing interoperability among participants, data sharing, data protection, data privacy, and establishing service level agreements and terms and conditions of use. The news release said the current mission will also seek to engage in preparatory discussions with the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, the CATP, and the Customs and Excise Department, CD, on the establishment of electronic data interchange standards and protocols geared towards guaranteeing interoperability, seamless data exchange mechanisms, security, and authenticity of electronic transactions. The implementation of the V-SWIFT is expected to cost the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines $2,338,400 United States dollars. The system is expected to be fully implemented by June 2026. Biso remains sacred to the Garifuna people whose ancestors were exiled and banished on the barren island some centuries ago. Every year on March 14th, for the past 2 decades, a pilgrimage is made to Biso. This year was no different. However, there were many people from the diaspora who stepped on the island for the first time. We hear more in this report.
Every year for Heroes Day, the Garifunas from the diaspora and from here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines journey to this island to pay homage to their ancestors. But the pilgrimage to Biso started from the time all 70 people got onto Young Island dock.
Thank y'all. We're aboard now, okay?
Most of the people were from the diaspora, who was joined by King of Igbo and Queen Mother, who leads the Yurumin royal delegation.
It's an honor, truly an honor having you.
The journey is not for the faint of heart, as one has to brave rough waters. The leader of Rites of Passage goes ahead to perform a ritual ceremony on shore. It is the first pilgrimage for the Igbo king, Dr. Anakwensi.
Good thing, it's a very good thing. It's a holy site. It needs to be kept as a heritage center for all the peoples. It's freedom fighters, people who were fighting just for freedom. That's who they were trying to commit genocide on and kill and murder. They were trying to commit genocide here. So this is a holy site. That's why I was praying for them. I was praying for them, for God to accept their soul, help them to do well in the next world.
The land remains barren, with some section of the island having trees, but mostly sharp rocks, thorns, cactus. And one wonder, how did half of the 5,000 Garifuna people survive? Here on the northern end of Biso, you can hear birds chirping, and where I'm standing is a pool of what we'd want to believe is fresh water, because while we were here we just saw birds, several birds, coming in to dip and get some water. But also what we found here is a turtle, but unfortunately it's not alive. There are no turtles, birds and other creatures that stay in close proximity of the pond. Back on the hill, people sat and stood quietly with their thoughts, reflecting on their ancestors.
Unlike the first pilgrimage that I participated in, it was mostly elders, scholars, but today we even have people from St. Vincent who have a keen interest and want to participate.
Something that I knew I needed, but I never knew I would have gotten so quickly and so randomly.
An elderly man from Beckway told SVG-TV News off camera that in the 1960s, he came to Biso with his uncle to fish. On the seashore, he saw human skeletons below the sand surface, which has, to this day, left him traumatized, knowing what had happened to the Garifuna people. The Garifunas eagerly await the acquisition of Biso, which the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has promised to make as a memorial site. Reporting for SVG-TV News from Biso, I am Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
A young man of Artley Hall, identified as Cameron Miller, aka Boogie, was shot and killed today at a small shop located at the main intersection in the community sometime after midday. Persons in the community said they heard one gunshot.
Just one shot, they say, poof,
That was it. Just one shot. Yeah, he received one shot to the head, one gunshot to the head. And he was apparently sleeping at the time. It's very surprising. Well, it's not surprising, but high daytime in a small community like this, like, come on. This so we come to, we gone too late today.
The residents said the young man was well known in the area and was not a troublemaker.
You know the young man?
Yeah, I know him very well. Boogie Irie. Boogie, well, different than over here. I don't know if he's a troublemaker anywhere else. I never see him make trouble. He always joyful. You know, he always joyful, and he always call me cuz because we two brother children. Yeah, so it's just sad. I feel so weak and empty right now. There's a lot more could be said, but I feel so empty and drained.
I know him as a good person. He always make you laugh, always enjoy it. 10 hand a day, like with a spirit like a bingo. You come and you enjoy yourself and you go home. You know, it's just sad. It's just a sad moment. We never expecting this today because he always sitting down on a table. Always. Sometimes I pass him, going to town, he will be there, sit down. Sometimes you're just there chilling, he might be smoking and just relax himself and then go home.
The police station in Artley Hall is 3 buildings away from where the man was shot. Residents are asking for increased police protection as they say they are living in fear and worry who will be next.
He died on the spot and I'm scared right now for my children in life because they just come to the shop. Police, we need more police, we need more. Them need to come out and patrol, you know, because things it's just happened and it's not far from the police station. It's right close to the police station. So we need to, I just begging the police, them to come out and patrol more and make people be safer.
I'm begging and I'm pleading for the St. Vincent Police Force, SVG Police Force, to give us a little more strength over here. Community too small for that. That's where we need more patrol and more police attendance.
Yeah, plenty of things need to be done. You know what I mean? The police presence, you know what I mean? The people that feel safe. That shooting happened just a few meters away from the spot. You know what I mean? So a lot more need to be done.
The residents feel that the police and authorities should engage the youths in the area with meaningful activities.
Get the youths them off the road. Idling, cars, what do you say? Idling, the devil cars, we find work for the idle hands. Yeah, find if they want to come talk to them, find something for the do. Enroll them in football, you know, a little sports, something. But we need help over here.
First time, it happened a couple of times that I know that since I live in Artley Hall, so and I have children and I don't want to be home and my son come up the road and then he get a stray bullet. So
this time over here does be dead. When the children gone to school and people gone to work, by the time 11, the place, the streets dead. Same as in the night, because the kind of thing happening over by the time 6 o'clock, the road dead. Yeah, it's like we're living in a ghost city over here. The place is just dead off. Businesses feeling it also because, you know, we have
3 days since they have a shooting right about.
Yeah.
On Sunday, another young Artley Hall man was hospitalized after being shot, and last month a man also from the area was found dead in his house with his body riddled with bullets. The police are continuing their investigations into these matters. The issue of sexual violence is a widespread problem that affects the entire Vincentian society. This is according to Sergeant of Police Nicola Williams, who is attached to the Sexual Offences Unit of the RSVG Police Force. The sergeant was a guest on the Police Beat program last evening on NBC Radio discussing the topic, breaking the silence, understanding, tackling and preventing sexual offences. Williams noted that sexual offences reported to the authorities on a regular basis are teens between 13 and 15 years old.
When I say unlawful sexual intercourse, I must let the listening public understand what I'm saying. 2 sections when we talk about unlawful sexual intercourse. We are talking about those with children under 13 and those with children under 15 because our age of consent is 15 years old. So those under 13 are section 1 to 4 in our laws that deals with that. And that carries a penalty of life. Those reports of sexual offenses at age 13 but under 15, it carries a penalty of 5 years, and that is section 1 to 4. But the most out of those two sets of offenses, those at 14, under 15, so that is the more, we may have rape, but it is not as prevalent as those offenses.
Highlighting a number of ways in which sexual offenses impact victims, therapist Edward Smith said these offenses have always been a painful and traumatizing experience.
Females who are genuinely, and I want to make a distinction between genuine and sometimes it may be made belief, but there are times when it is genuine rape and sexual trauma. Post-traumatic stress disorder can follow these young ladies, these women, sometimes for the rest of their lives. Then we have the whole disruption of social relationships, isolation and withdrawal, and all these things happen. Shame and guilt, loss of trust and safety, sexual dysfunction, substance abuse. A lot of women who turn out to be drug addicts, sex addicts, are because when they were younger they were abused so severely and so violently, and the whole idea of self-esteem issues. And sometimes a lot of them become pregnant. They get infected by STDs, STIs. Those are some of the things that affect them. Yeah.
Speaking about some of the hurdles in investigating sexual offenses, Sergeant Williams said the main challenge facing the Sexual Offenses Unit in this regard is witness cooperation, as victims often do not want to cooperate with law enforcement officers.
Apart from the victim, other witnesses, somebody who might have seen something, who might have known something, family, friends, parents, and that is one of our problems, where parents will tell children that they are lying, they are not speaking the truth, they don't believe, all because sometimes the reports are made against a perpetrator in the home, whether it be the boyfriend, the brother, the husband. But I often say parents are to believe the children until they can prove otherwise. So yes, we get lack of cooperation from victims as well as other witnesses. And I want to speak about the lack of cooperation from the victims. Sometimes they fail to cooperate either because they're ashamed, and Mr. Smith just said it, the way the society look at them, they have been stigmatized, they are being bullied at school, and all sorts of other things. Maybe the sex involved somebody they like, but they are not ready for sex, but they like the person and sex happen, so they don't want to talk against that person. You'll be surprised to hear that underage children say, it's my boyfriend. They ain't ready for that yet. So because of that, they don't want to cooperate with the police.
The Stubbs Government School kicked off its Literacy Week of activities on Monday, March 18th, 2024, with a brief opening ceremony of the school's miniature playground. The Literacy Week of activities being held under the theme, Sailing on a Sea of Books, Read What You Write, will conclude on Friday, March 22nd. In an interview with SVG-TV News, grade 3 teacher at the Stubbs Government School, Willisha London, explained how they're making reading and writing a fun experience for the students and the reasoning behind the creation of the miniature playground.
And it is not here for you to just come outside and play and neglect your academic work, your work in your classroom, but it is more so for you to balance your fitness and your physical development with your academics. Now, I had to do a project that is linked to my studies, and given the nature of our school, although our school does have play space, I found that the play space was not enough, especially for the smaller children from kindergarten to grade 3. So therefore, I decided to create this playground to ensure that all students will have that full benefit, will have that excitement, that play experience. As they play, they can learn through play. I strongly believe that play is the work of children, because as they play, they are not just developing physically, but social, emotional skills are being developed, cognitive skills are being developed, and they even learn to self-regulate as they play. So there are several different things that are here in the playground this morning. On my left, there is a monkey bar, we have a seesaw, we have area for sand and water play, we have swing, and also for sensory and motor development.
Deputy Chief Education Officer Joycelyn Blake Brown told the students that they cannot rely solely on their teachers for assistance in their academic work, and advised them to take ownership of their education and put in the effort to excel.
You have to take the onus of your education seriously. You know at times when you're not given homework what you have to do. When you're not given homework, what you have to do at times? What you have to do at times? Do it. Children upstairs, what do you have to do when you don't have homework? Right, study, make your own homework. Okay, you dive into it. I see like you're going to be diving today. Some persons might be diving, swimming, floating. We don't want anybody to sink, teachers. We don't want anybody to sink. You know what the challenges are. You know what are the deficiencies. Catch them before they sink. It's not just okay to have hats off to reading, you know. Teachers, I'm speaking to you now. It's not just okay to have hats off, and you know, you had me sweating in this hot sun here. So you have to put the energies into teaching the students so that they do not sink. They can stay afloat. They can reach their maximum potential. Every child must succeed. Try to reach every single child as you teach. Remember, we want to include everybody. When you are delivering instruction, whether in numeracy, literacy, science, social studies, think of creative activities in the same way you were creative in producing these hats. Think of creative ways to keep every single child afloat so that they can all reach their maximum potential.
Literacy coordinator Swin Swift said that to help deal with the challenge of some students not reading at their grade level, a special presentation was made to encourage the students to read more, as he outlined other activities to take place for the school's Literacy Week.
Wednesday, we have nothing but a bag day and also our poetry afternoon. The children would be competing against each other with poems and to see which class could present the poem the best, and they would be given awards and tokens for that day. On Thursday would be also our reading and spelling bee competition. From kindergarten right up to grade 6, we have the children reading and spelling. Some would be reading what they write, what they wrote in the past, and some would be reading passages based on the sea and things pertaining to the ocean. And on Friday, we all come together with our character day, where everybody would be in costumes focusing on the sea. So we will have our fishes coming in, our mermaids, and so much other things. We are just anxiously waiting to see what the children would come up with. And at the end of it, each class, they would be decorating their classroom, their library corner, and the grand prize will be given to the class with the best library corner.
Here is a quick look at some of yesterday's literacy activities at the Stubbs Government School.
cutting.